Unicorn Store by Brie Larson, directed and starring Brie Larson, is getting very mixed reviews. Some critics love it and others seem to hate it. So I'm going to give you my take on it. Now, usually what I do is as soon as I see a movie, I'm more excited about watching the reviews than I am actually watching the movie. So I hop online and I look up all my favorite movie reviewers, a few that I trust and a few that I don't know as well. And I want to watch everyone's reviews, see their reactions, see what they think of it, and, read their interpretations. But not with this movie. This was one of those special movies where I wanted to just sit with it for a while. And I'll tell you why in a little bit, so stay with me. But I did not run to the forums to watch this movie. Or to watch the movie reviews yet. I wanted to give you my take on it first, and as soon as I'm done uploading this video, I'm going to go see what everybody else has to say, and I also want to hear what you guys have to say, so put it in the comments down below. So there's going to be spoilers. Spoiler warning starts now. Don't say I didn't warn you. Okay, so this movie stars Brie Larson, who I have loved ever since she starred in Short Term 12, which I saw back in 2016. I found it randomly on, I think, Amazon Prime. I was looking for something to watch. I said, I'll try this. Ended up being one of my favorite movies. This is one of those movies that, the Short Term 12 movie, it's one of those movies that I wouldn't have liked it 5-10 years ago. The same goes for Unicorn Store. They have a lot of similarities between them. I have not seen Captain Marvel yet, so I can't include that particular movie into this conversation. However, the Short Term 12 movie, The Room, which Brie Larson starred in, and Unicorn Store are all very similar projects. She's careful about which projects. I've listened to a lot of interviews with Brie. She's very careful about the projects that she puts herself into because she really throws everything she has into these movies. When she filmed The Room, which is a movie about, and I promise we're gonna get to the Unicorn Store, but I gotta give you some background for it. When she filmed The Room, which is a movie about a woman and her son who are locked into a room by a sexual predator and trapped for 8 years in one room, and they have to escape. Well, when she did that, she actually subjected herself to 30 days where she stayed in her bedroom with no phone and no computer, and only allowed herself to read 5 books, because that's what the character in the movie has to go through. So she really wanted to put herself in that mindset, and I think that it really comes through in her performances. When she filmed Short Term 12, which is about kids in foster care, I believe she went and worked with kids who are in foster care. And it added so much to her performance. With this movie, she had some connections with Unicorn Store. She said that she went back into her childhood home videos, and she found videos of herself as a little girl wanting a unicorn. And so she makes these deep connections with these movies that she's in, and you can tell in her work. She's a very different type of actress. She's actually super introverted. She isn't your typical Hollywood out there, very extroverted, wants to be around people, loves the fame, wants the attention. That's not her. She's very much more about the art and the craft of filmmaking. And so she's been picking, with the exception of Captain Marvel, which I have not seen yet, these very intimate, in-depth, quiet films. Those kind of films I would not have enjoyed about 5 or 10 years ago, because they don't have a strong, direct storyline or plot. Some of these films that I'm thinking of, like Florida Project, for example, no strong, direct plot. It's sort of a day in the life or a slice of life where you're just going through life with them. Lady Bird, just going through life with them. There's no real strong meaning or message behind it. What is it? The Edge of 17, same thing. It's these movies where they're they're like an indie film, but they don't have the quirkiness, and they're quiet, small films. Unicorn Store definitely has the indie film quirkiness to it, which we're seeing more and more of as Netflix and Hulu do these special projects where people are allowed to kind of deep dive into what they want. And they're trying. TV now is made for much smaller audiences than it ever was. TV used to be broad strokes, attract as many viewers as you can. The sitcoms, the Friends, the Seinfelds, where it was mass appeal and everybody liked it. Now we get the specific audiences where we're trying to market to true crime theorists who are interested in strong female leads, or we're trying to market to such and such a demographic, and those kind of movies, they've grown on me over time. So these quiet, small films that she's been doing, they have grown on me as I've gotten older, and I've learned to break films down and watch movie reviews and suck out the essence of what these films actually mean. With Unicorn Store, I'm completely stumped, somewhat, on what this actually means, what the message is, what the story is behind it. So, for example, with Lady Bird, a lot of people said, oh, it's a love letter to Sacramento, and the surprise twist ending, spoiler alert, is that this is all actually from the mom's perspective. So you can see where there's sort of a reason to watch the movie and a drive. With Unicorn Store, I know that there is more to the story. I have yet to figure out what that more actually is. For about the first half of this movie, spoilers, I thought that this was a metaphor for religion, because she has a moment where she's standing in Staples and talking to a random Staples employee, and she said, I've seen something and I'm not sure if it's real, but I think it is real. And he said, like Jesus? And she said, well, yes, but no. And who are we to judge what somebody else believes to be real if it's real to them? So I said, okay, this movie's about religion, the unicorn is God, and this movie's going to explore what it means to believe in something that not everybody else believes in. And it does, but it's not, I don't think that's the entire focal point of the movie. Partly because at the end, the boyfriend is able to see what she sees. So for a long time, for most of this movie, I thought that that's what the point of the movie is about, but she gives up her dream at the end, and she gives up having a unicorn. Most people, when they believe in God, don't give that up. They keep going towards it. I don't know if maybe, and I'm trying to work through this, I've wanted to sit with this overnight, watch the movie, and then try to think about it more and delve into it within my own mind. Because when you watch a movie like this that has this somewhat ambiguous message to it, what you bring to it is more important sometimes than what it brings to you. Just like any other artwork. Everyone's going to read something different into it, and no matter what you read into it, that's important and that is valid. But there's also author's intent. So I like to let my brain think on things like this, try to figure out what it means to me, which shows me what I'm bringing to it, and then go back and look at what the author's intentions were. Now, I think that the author, from the little bit of research that I've done, I haven't watched any movie reviews, but I have watched interviews with Brie Larson and the directors and some of the actors. And what I think this was showing was how this girl was transitioning into adulthood by learning how much of her dream to hold on to and how much of it to let go of. So she learns, the turning point in the movie is kind of when she realizes that this whole time she thought her parents were, the whole movie she thinks that her parents are, they think of her as just disappointment. They want to adopt a different kid. They like these other kids more than they like her. And then she has her, her breakdown, and she looks at the wall, and her mom has framed 2 of her paintings. And she said, "Have those always been there?" And her mom says, "Yeah, they've always been there." And she realizes that somebody appreciates her art, and somebody appreciates her for who she is. And that's sort of the turning point in the movie where she realizes, okay, things aren't going well at work. I have to kind of be the boring if I want to succeed at work, but I've succeeded in other ways with my artwork and made a difference for these people. Then she goes and she's willing to give up the unicorn. In the process of fighting for her dreams, which is represented by this unicorn, she goes through everything that she does to prepare for having this unicorn, changes her life for the better to the point where she doesn't need the dream anymore because she accomplishes it in her journey. She connects with her family. She sets up her living environment the way that the first thing she does is she sets up her proper living environment, which is for the unicorn, but I think it's representative of setting up your life the way that you want it around you. Second thing she does is she has to gather food for the unicorn. So I think that's bringing the right things into your life, and at the same time she's bringing friendships and relationships into her life that she didn't have before. And then the third thing that she does is bring in, she has to connect with her family and bring joy into her life. And once she's done all 3 of those things, she realizes she doesn't need the imaginary friend anymore. So I think that's a lot of what this movie is trying to talk about. This millennial generation, it's a lot of them have been pressured to succeed in life beyond what is reasonable or possible. We grew up being told that we can do anything we want to do if we just work hard enough. And then we have our social media, which is reinforcing. We only see the best parts of other people's lives, and people don't share their struggles online as much as they share. Some do, but most social media is a perfect picture that I spent 20 minutes setting up, and it's not real life. So it looks like everyone else around us is succeeding, and while we're living in our parents' basement. And that's kind of what this movie is showing, is a very real, like, it's okay to fail at things. The most adult thing you can do is fail at things you care about, is the focal point quote of this movie. And I do think it's so important for our millennial generation to realize that we can fail upwards. We don't have to be perfect at everything every time. So I really enjoyed this movie. And one last note that I wanted to throw out there, and I do want to be careful about the way that I say this because I don't want it to come off the wrong way, but in some of the comment sections in the reviews for this movie, I saw some people who identified as autistic saying that the character in this movie read as autistic to them. And I can see where they're coming from. One of my favorite parts about this movie was the dialogue and the way that they used the kind of stilted, translated dialogue in The Office especially. And what I mean by that is it didn't feel like when we were in the office scenes I was hearing what was actually being said. It felt like I was hearing what a blunt Google Translate would say. And I think because I have so many autistic friends and family and have worked with autistic children in the past, I believe sometimes that blunt, a kind of analytical dialogue is what they need in order to understand some of the emotions and complexities in communication. So I think that maybe sometimes what they hear is, and again, I'm trying to be careful about the way that I say this, because it's a community that I care so deeply about and I don't want to offend anyone, but chime in and correct me if I'm wrong. I think some of the dialogue in this movie was sort of a stilted translation of what this would sound like to somebody who didn't have a high level of emotional intellect. And maybe that's wrong, but that's my impression. And also I saw people who have autism commenting that they saw this character as autistic. And I can see where they're coming from on that. And I think a lot of the reason that this character comes off as autistic is because we are not used to seeing introverts act on television. Acting is mostly an extroverted activity. And so seeing Brie Larson, who is very much a self-proclaimed reader, introvert, likes to be inside, likes to spend a lot of time alone, seeing somebody like that on screen, it almost does read as autistic. I'm curious what you guys think. How much of that was her character and how much of that was just the fact that we are used to seeing extroverts play main characters? Okay, guys, well, I'm gonna go and watch some more of the reviews and see what other people think, and I definitely want to hear what you think. If I have some new insights into this, maybe I will come back with another breakdown video. Oftentimes watching the reviews helps me to translate and understand more accurately what a movie is supposed to mean. So leave the comments down below and please make sure you like and subscribe. Throw me a like because it'll help me get more people to see this video. And throw me a subscribe because I am trying to hit 1,000 viewers, 1,000 subscribers. And let me know what you want me to do when we hit that 1,000 mark. I'll try to come up with something special. Alright, so let me know what you think in the comments below and have a good night. I will see you in the next video.